We are live. Welcome to MMA Mobsters. I'm former UFC champion, UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich. Of course, MMA Mobsters brought to you by cellsaviors.org and dimene.com. And as always, I'm joined by the Oracle of Odds, the Chauvin one, Joshua Chauvin. How are you today, Joshua?
I'm good, brother. I had to adjust my shirt. I was showing off a little bit too much chest there, but I'm good. Great card last week. We got just about everything right, and now we have what do you even call them now? Because they're not pay-per-views anymore, but we have a title fight.
Paramount Views.
Paramount Views.
Paraviews, whatever.
Paramount's world. We're just living in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did quite well. I mean, I am not the guy that's betting. I might periodically throw $10 on something just for the fun of it. That's not, my game. But you did pretty well last week.
Yeah, I think we did well. Give yourself credit too. We were on pretty much all the favorites except Bobby Green. I think you were even more confident than I was that massive underdog Bobby Green not only had a shot but had a really good shot, and he just dominated and dominated as like a plus 380 underdog. And then all the other big favorites pretty much rolled. So that's pretty much what we said would happen.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to break my arm patting myself on the back because catastrophic weeks may arrive. So it's best to just try and be humble the whole way through this, correct?
Yeah. Were you impressed? Obviously, not a ton of, I guess, household name fights. We had the pay-per-view with Moreno and Kavanaugh. I know that I said I really liked Fight Goes to Decision, and I also like Kavanaugh to get the upset. And then out of all the fights, did anything stand out to you? I mean, that Hernandez kid is pretty good, and I'll have to look up top to bottom on the card, but there's some decent Latino prospects. I thought it was a good card. And nobody died in Mexico City, so that's a plus.
Yeah, very good. Actually, very good card. And I'm actually happy for Bobby Green. I think that's a great thing. For a guy that's had the ups and downs to resurrect himself over and over and over on matchups like that when he's not the favorite. I like rooting for the underdog, right?
As a coach, how do you feel about a guy who fights with his hands at his waist? That would probably drive you a little bit crazy. I remember you talking to me. One of the things that you said that I'll never forget is that you said the reason you keep your hands right up here, elbows in, you said a blade of grass will move a speeding bullet. So you talked about how important it is. I mean,
well, it just comes down to experience level, things like that. I'll give you an example, and then we'll move on to the news. There was one day at the gym when Rob Lawler was sparring, and this isn't to disparage Tim Sylvia, but Robbie did not like being told what to do. That's just the way it was. If you knew how to coach him, which I started to learn, you didn't tell him what to do. You asked him what he needed to work on. Where were his weak points? And he would suggest, and he would be correct, and he would be honest, and that's what we would work on, right? So Rob was very self-aware of his own fighting knowledge and IQ. So nonetheless, Tim yelled at him during sparring and said, literally screamed at him, "Robbie, get your hands up." Robbie looked over at him, dropped his hands down to his waist, and sparred the rest of the round with his hands at his waist. And the very next round, Rob was sparring, and Tim yelled at him again. And Rob did it again. And I looked at Tim and I said, "Tim, at what point do you learn not to tell him what to do?" Yeah, it doesn't work. Like, just shut up and I'll worry about the coaching and you go do your thing. So, but again, not to disparage Tim, Tim was trying to, help him, whatever. Anyway, on another note, let's go into news a little bit. Tom Aspinall, which I was surprised by this. I think everybody was to a certain extent. Signed with Matchroom, Eddie Hearn's organization. That's quite a development, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I think maybe you may have more of an opinion on it than I do. For me, it generally makes sense. Aspinall is British, and Eddie Hearn represents most of the British talent, more so on the boxing side. He reps Anthony Joshua, he reps Tyson Fury. And so you bring Aspinall into the equation. Now, what is Aspinall doing? He took a very bad eye poke that apparently damaged both his eyes, and he has been on ice since that happened there in October. Now, Dana White likes to have beef with a lot of people, and you've hit on this a little bit too, where some of it might be a little bit staged because it does get people to pay attention. Is the beef with him and Jake Paul staged? I think maybe some of it is, some of it isn't. I think that's where you find your good rage bait or controversy during these days is start with something that's true and maybe embellish it a little bit. So he likes to go back and forth with Jake Paul. That'll pick up now that Jake Paul is doing MMA, putting on the Ronda Rousey Gina Carano fight. He likes to go back and forth with Eddie Hearn since he's breaking into boxing, and that's Eddie Hearn's territory. On one hand, you can look at it, yeah, a huge British fighting talent is now repped by the biggest British fighting talent agent. Or you can look at it, or this is a slap in the face to Dana White, and I guess time will tell which it is.
Well, I just saw that, whether it's real or staged, again, the fact that Dana said, let's fight, to Eddie Hearn basically in an interview. And then Eddie Hearn being interviewed about that said, I'll basically, take him out behind the woodshed and give him a lesson is what he said. Now, I have sparred with Dana White. It's been many years ago when the Fertittas first basically acquired the UFC. Dana asked me to come into what was then the kind of the training facility, UFC offices, things like that, and they had a boxing ring set up. And we sparred for 3 rounds. And Dana moves well. I mean, he's boxed before. He moved well. Is he a fighter? Absolutely not. That is not his forte. He is a promoter, and that's just, the way it is. Now, I will say this, though. If Eddie Hearn and Dana White were to actually fight each other, they would go from pimps to prostitutes.
Yeah?
Right?
Why is that bad?
Because
expand on
they're the ones getting in there, risking their asses, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it would be fun to watch. They would probably actually sell a shitload of tickets.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they would.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in seeing that boxing match?
I would watch it.
Okay, then.
Watch it. I'd probably bet on it.
Yeah, so anyway, okay. Moving on, UFC, White says that the White House card is finalized, going to make announcements soon. Who do you speculate is on it? What would you say?
That's a good question. I have no freaking idea. We have, obviously, I think it's safe to say people will be disappointed just because the fans are always disappointed. The fans were disappointed with UFC 200 when it got announced. I believe the 2 title fights were Wei Li versus another Chinese woman, and that was supposed to be historic. And then Pereira fought Jamal Hill. Both fights worked out good. Obviously, the star of the show was the BMF fight, Holloway versus Gaethje, one of the greatest knockouts in modern UFC, in modern MMA history. So people will complain. I highly doubt we get John Jones and Conor McGregor fighting on this card. I'll be shocked if we get one of them, unless it's John Jones fighting Conor McGregor as the main event. People are going to be disappointed. But they're taking this very seriously. I'm excited. I imagine they roll out some announcements during the card tomorrow night. In between fights, they'll announce some here and there. So I'm interested to see it. We'll see what happens. What do you think? Do you think they'll get Conor or Jones? Obviously, they're not going to get Rousey. You got to know that was discussed, though, that Rousey talked about being on this card. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they may actually get Jones. I think they might surprise people with something, of this nature. And I mean, God only knows politics is WWE on a massive scale. So why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? So
Let's do this before we move on to the next thing. You say, well, let's both say one kind of fight that you cook up. I'll go first. Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal.
I'm thinking a rematch between Poirier and Conor McGregor.
Okay, that's certainly possible.
Right? That's. I mean, I'd pull Poirier out of retirement for that.
And I think Poirier would come out of retirement for that too. That would be fight number 4 between them. I've heard Conor and Masvidal tossed around. That makes sense to me too. Obviously, Pereira versus John Jones would be awesome. If they can get that done, my hats off to them.
Sure. Yeah. One more thing. Sean Strickland. I just wanted to bring that up. A little bit more controversy. He just continues to throw stuff out there. I'm not doing this for clickbait. I just think the guy's entertaining and he likes to be entertaining and he likes to mess with people.
He's got a little bit of Pat Miletich in him, is what you're saying.
He's a little more than I've ever done, to say the least. Yeah, boy takes it to the extreme. Which, hey, look, I appreciate free speech. We have to have free speech across the board. Doesn't matter if it offends you or not, and that's just the way
we lose Pat. That's the way
I've always thought. So anyway, your thoughts on Strickland?
Yeah, I think that I obviously I'm joking a little bit making the comparisons, but I do see some Strickland in you. You're older, wiser, and you don't quite push the envelope like him. But I think that you both like to get people's reactions, and you like to say what's on your mind and get the conversation going and see what happens. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for all the things that we may not agree with Dana on, I think that's an area that we agree with him on. He doesn't want to muzzle his fighters. And Dana's also smart, as well as being a patriot and all about, your freedom of speech. Dana knows that when people are talking about, oh my God, can you believe Strickland said this? We should put him in prison because he said this about gay people or trans people, or people are talking about that. And Dana and Sean Strickland are just sitting back counting the dollars, because that has always sold back to your days. That controversy is always sold, and here in 2026, where rage bait's never been hotter, it's definitely selling. So it's going to get people to tune in. It's going to get people to talk about it, and
yeah. So all right, so let's move on to the card for Saturday night at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira 2. The first one ended, from I believe a shoulder injury, wasn't it? Oliveira got hurt in the fight pretty early on, and so Oliveira's getting a chance to come back and do his thing and get that one back. So I was looking at the card and thinking to myself, there's a lot of really solid hammers on this card. I mean, there's some very, very solid fighters, and they're starting this one right out of the gate interests me because of this. Fernandez and Bellato going up against each other. Bellato's ranked 23rd in the world, but Fernandez, going 4-0 in the LFA is not easy to do. Coming into the UFC, I think he's a threat, and I believe the odds are even reflecting that, aren't they?
They are. The odds have danced around a little bit. Fernandez opening up at minus 265 on FanDuel. He's been bet down to minus 225. That means Bellato's taken a little bit of action. I still kind of lean Fernandez here. Bellato has worried me more than he has impressed me in his brief UFC run, but that's what happens. Bellato was a big-time prospect too, just a few fights ago, and now he's come into the UFC, experienced a little bit of issues. So that's largely what happens, unless you're like an Alex Pereira or a
Yeah.
Conor McGregor. You don't usually just come in and set the world on fire. Even future champions take a few losses along the way. So, yeah, I think that we have two prospects here, and I think it's interesting that the line hasn't moved in Fernandez's direction because Bellato has shown some weaknesses under the bright lights of the UFC. So it interests me that the line's moving in Bellato's direction.
Yep. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Fernandez. I mean, 1-1 in the UFC, but 4-0 in the LFA does tell me quite a bit about that he is solid, and the hole in his game ultimately is, well, in getting potentially KO'd. He's been knocked out twice, so he likes going out guns blazing, and so as long as he's not careless, I think he can pull this one off pretty well. So.
Yeah, and Bellato has gassed a little bit. I think he's shown that if the fight carries on a bit, that he's going to struggle. So the line movement is interesting, but I would still lean Fernandez. The line hasn't moved enough that it's setting off alarms for me.
Smart. Okay. Balonis versus Lee. Gaston Balonis is a guy I've always liked. I've called a few of his fights in Lion Fight, Muay Thai. And I believe potentially I might have called one of his MMA fights, but his spinning elbows are so terrifying. The things that he did to other human beings in Muay Thai with his spinning elbows were so horrific. And I think he's done it in MMA as well, from my recollection. Terrifying guy. Terrifying spinning techniques. Although Lee is the favorite in this fight, Balonis certainly likes to go out and be exciting.
Yeah, I remember we had back in the old days of MMA Mobsters in Holstein's apartment, we had a Gaston fight, and I treated you to a song. No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston. No one's neck is incredibly thick as Gaston's. So you like the song better than you did 3 years ago. I think I got a look of death when I said that a few years ago. But we have, I don't know. I always think about Beauty and the Beast. Talking about Gaston, the fighter, John Lee has seen some positive line movement on Caesars, especially going from minus 260 to minus 360. I'm not sure if that's warranted. Obviously, that's going to make Lee my pick. But I'm with you. I think that Gaston is a decent fighter. He comes out of that European machine, Cage Warriors veteran, I believe. But this is all Lee. John Yoon Lean minus 290 to minus 340 on FanDuel. Lee is fast, as most Asian fighters are, and I think that speed, especially with his striking, obviously, will be enough to win this fight. Lee's going to be my pick.
And here's the where I see it going, to be honest with you, is Balonis has a hole in his ground game. He's a striker. He's a Muay Thai guy. Yes, he's added, grappling, but that's not his gym specialty, or was not for a lot of years anyway. Lee is a guy that's unbeaten in the submission department, has not lost by submission, has 3 of his own. I think Balonis could find himself in trouble on the ground and getting finished by Lee. So we agree, I think, on who's probably likely going to win this fight. So moving on to Tobias and Nurgoze. This is, both guys are kind of struggling recently, right? And so is this I don't know. Are they given walking papers in the UFC anymore? Unless
if they are. Yeah.
But guys that are exciting stick around.
Yeah.
Guys that are even unbeaten in the UFC that are not exciting are given their walking papers. So,
yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. You can lose 8 in the row if in the UFC, and as long as you're exciting, they'll keep you around. Look at Michael Chandler. That's a situation that he's in right now. Look at Bobby Green. I believe Bobby had lost 4 in a row. Had lost 4 in a row very badly, and now he's bounced back with 2 wins in a row. So So yeah, they like guys that will put on fights, and then you can win like 5 out of 6, but they're all decisions, and they cut you. So that's the new UFC here. I think the line movement in the favor of Tobias is interesting here. I'm sorry, against Tobias. Tobias opened up at minus 290. That's Rafael Tobias on FanDuel. He's down 100 points. He's down to 192. So that makes me look at Dr. Nurzagay, I believe is how you say his name, or close enough. Nurgazay. And yeah, I like him a lot. Obviously comes from the Eastern European background. And what's the path to victory you see here for Dr. as an underdog who's become less of an underdog over the past week?
I don't necessarily agree that the line movement with that. I think more than likely Tobias, if there's going to be a finish, it's Tobias by submission.
Okay.
To be honest with you, Tobias is pretty solid on the ground. So
I love that. Yeah, line movement is a great predictor, but it isn't an exact science. I would say maybe about 80% of the time, heavy line movement is correct. Sometimes it just isn't. So okay, we're gonna disagree. I like that. I have the DR side. You're still hanging with Tobias as the favorite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
I like it.
Jesus Aguilar, and help me with the name. Sumudir G.
There are some difficult names on this card.
Sumudirji.
Sumudirji.
That's what I was. Yes, that's what I was trying to throw out of my mouth. Yes, Sumudirji versus Aguilar.
That is his first name and last name. Sumudirji.
Do you Sumudirji take? I can only imagine that one. So, but
will I be taking your last name or your first name, Sumudirji?
Right. Sumudirji is favored in this one. The guy's 13-0 in the TKO area. I mean, the guy's a striker and pretty decent on the ground. I mean, he's not great. He's lost by submission several times, to say the least. I don't want to disparage him too bad, but I think it's a matchup of, really, honestly, where's this fight going to end up and who's going to win is kind of how this goes down. Sumudirji wins it standing up and loses it on the ground.
Yeah, I think the thing with Sumudirji when he came into the UFC was Asians are primarily known for their striking. Obviously, you go back thousands of years to their history of combat sports. Not exactly a country or an area, a continent that's known for its wrestling. And Sumudirji comes in, it's like, oh, the guy can strike, he can absolutely thump. He's got that karate, all that you would expect him to have, and he can wrestle. Well, he can wrestle, but it seems like every time he takes the fight to the ground, he gets submitted. So
True.
Maybe he shouldn't be wrestling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting to me. He still is a solid guy, especially for he's both guys have many fights in the UFC. And the line movement's not really doing much, Pat. I think people are kind of afraid to bet this fight. You got Sumudirji opening up at minus 240. He's minus 230 now. Both guys are better than average, and I think it'll be a close fight, and I don't really love betting it, period. Let's see what fight goes to decision is. If anything, I'm kind of liking fight goes to decision at minus 150. If you gave me $100 and told me I had to bet it on this fight, that's where my bet would be going. Fight goes to decision.
Okay. Yeah, so standing or on the ground, we know where the likelihood is if somebody's gonna win by finish, though. So moving on to Tumen Denbaral versus Durden. We've got a guy that's 1-1 versus a guy that's 6-7 in the UFC. One guy's got a lot of experience under the lights, under the pressure. The other one's got a couple of fights under those hot lights of the UFC. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Durden is the definition of kind of like a gatekeeper fighter. He's, like you said, about 500 in the UFC. He's tough though, man, and he's got, I'd say, above average striking. Definitely has above average wrestling. And once again, we have a close fight here. where the line movement reflects that. Tumen Dembarel opened up at minus 155. He's minus 152 on FanDuel now. 165 to 133, right back to 165 on Caesars. So people are betting both sides of this fight. We call this two-way action. There's money coming in on both ends. That's why you haven't seen much separation on the line movement. I'm going to ask for your pick because I'm honestly pretty torn on this fight.
Well, I mean, Durden's had a tougher road, obviously, because he's been in the UFC longer. He's fought against much tougher opponents. He's not the favorite. I think based on some of the statistics, Tumen Dembaral's got, an easier road. Those numbers can be attributed to an easier road. It's not something I would even want to bet on if I was a betting guy necessarily.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy that's the underdog right now has easily his chance to win this fight. Certainly.
Yeah, I would agree. Durden does well when the fight gets a little bit sloppy, gets a little bit greasy. He can move from his striking to his wrestling. This is a greasy fight. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's move on to the next fight because this may be one that you don't have to bet every fight, and this may be one that I think it's so razor close that not super confident.
So Tercios versus Montez, correct? Is what we've got up next. Montez versus Tercios. Montez unranked against the number 68 guy, which doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. But neither guy's had terribly difficult schedules, so to speak. Looking at the quality of opponents and not disparaging their opponents, it's just hasn't been horribly difficult for either one of them. I think Montez has certainly the edge on the ground. He's a pretty solid guy on the ground, and I think the numbers. What's he favored at right now? Last I looked, he was like minus 200, somewhere around there.
Montez has dipped slightly to minus 190, but essentially the same.
Okay. So your money would be on Montez. What are you thinking?
Money's on Montez. It's more of a fade on Tercios. Tercios is a frustrating guy. He's often more concerned with putting on a show for the wrong reasons. I guess he'll be looking kind of good mid-fight, and then he'll pick up imaginary sand and throw it in his opponent's face or something. And it's like, what are we doing? That's a fine line, is showboating. We saw one of the greatest showboaters I think ever in the UFC last week in Bobby Green. Bobby Green knows how to make the showboating work for him. Tercios, not so much. And Tercios tends to lose these close fights, which makes me think that fight goes to decision at minus 120 would maybe be the best bet from this fight. But I think Tercios probably loses a close decision, which is what he's largely done in the UFC, and Tercios may be walking after this. We'll see.
Okay, all right. So next fight, Johnson versus Brundage. Big spread between these two. Do you think those numbers are justified, considering not horribly difficult schedules for either guy? To be both guys, I put a meh in their quality of opponents after looking at them, but massive difference there. In the
Dante
odds, right?
Johnson, Caged Aggression alumni, if I'm not mistaken. There,
he's a tank. He's a tough guy. I think people are maybe looking at some of his tapes from Caged Aggression, mauling people from the Midwest a little bit.
I know the fight that you and I called for him ended up in a groin strike and was a little bit of a letdown. And then we had some, I don't know if you even noticed this, some Viking looking guy. Like he had to be at least maybe 6'9". He literally looked like a Viking, had a long red beard, and he walked up right to us where Yumi and Burmis were broadcasting, and he was just yelling at Dante Johnson's opponent, calling him a quitter, and no one was doing anything. And finally, I think Goodwin sent some security over there, but I was like, man, this is the Wild West over here.
Yeah.
And but so yeah, Dante Johnson has one fight in the UFC that was against Enrique Dumas, who everyone beats. So I'm not sure that. I
Yeah.
honestly, I think Johnson may be a little bit too high of a price coming in here. Opened up at minus 620. He's minus 800. Brundage is decent, man. Brundage is very similar to Cody Durden in that he's kind of a gatekeeper role. Man, this minus 900 price tag scares me a lot for Dante Johnson because it wasn't like he just ran over Enrique Dumas. He actually just kind of Dumas laid on him for a good bit of that first round, and then Dante Johnson just kind of sunk in a choke out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, I guess he wins. So, yeah, this line is a little bit nuts to me, Pat Militech. I mean, you gotta pick Johnson, especially he's gone from minus 650 to minus 900 on Caesars, but just from what I know about these guys' portfolio here, kind of disrespectful to Cody Brundage. What do you think?
A little bit of disrespect considering Brundage is, ranked 5 positions higher in world rankings, things like that. I might light a fire under Brundage. I think Johnson is overall a better athlete and certainly a better prospect at this point, considering, he's got the look, he's athletic, he's solid, he's unbeaten. So he's certainly, the sky's the limit with him. But at the same time, likelihood of it going the distance, I mean, do you really think it goes the distance?
No, I don't think Johnson's really ever gone the distance.
No, not at all.
And Brundage will abide that. Brundage, I think he kind of goes where the fight takes him, and where he'll strike if you want to strike, he'll wrestle if you want to wrestle. If you want to get in a gunfight, he'll get in a gunfight. If you want kind of a more slow, boring fight, he kind of. And I want to ask you what you think about that. Obviously, Bruce Lee's famous saying was be water, my friend." Anderson Silva kind of took over that moniker. And as a coach, as a UFC Hall of Fame athlete, what do you think about that? What is it? Is it just a case-by-case basis? Would you rather be water, adjust to the fight, be whatever you need to be? Or would you be, I'm coming in there with a game plan and we're going to do things my way?
Well, you have to, if there's going to be a dance, you want to be the one leading the dance, right? That's just the way it is. And you have to be able to adjust no matter what. I mean, if you get an athlete in front of you that looks totally different than what you've studied on film in terms of they move faster than you thought they did or differently or whatever that is, they're stronger than you thought they were, weaker, whatever those things are, you're going to feel, pretty quickly, what tiger you've grabbed a hold of, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how you have to adjust. And that's the reality of it. I mean, I've fought people that I didn't think were strong at all. And when I put my hands on them, I went, "Ooh, that's not the case. They're very strong and I need to adjust." Right. So, then you go, I'm probably not going to finish this guy quick. I'm going to have to wear him down. I'm going to have to outsmart him, whatever those things are, right? So, yeah, making adjustments is very wise. So, anyway, Johnson is our pick in that one. Let's move on to Cody Garbrandt and Long Zhao.
Lee. That was great nuggets of wisdom from Pat Militech there. So that was great. What's the next fight, Pat?
Garbrandt against Long Zhao.
Zhao, I believe.
Zhao.
Yeah. Garbrandt's frustrating, man. In my younger days, when I was not betting so much, I was mostly doing fantasy sports for MMA, which is crazy to think about. There, 7, 8 years ago, I loved Cody Garbrandt. He came in and against Dominic Cruz in a fight where not a lot of people are giving him a shot, just put on a masterclass. And this is the next big thing. They were planning big things for him, and his road has been up and down, I think is a nice way to to say it here. And his issue was always he gets into too many firefights and doesn't have the chin to sustain firefights. And then he kind of fixed that. He became somewhat of a more disciplined fighter, and okay, this is going good. And then all of a sudden, he can't stop takedowns. He was very good wrestling pedigree, and then it comes out, oh, he's got vertigo. So every time that you take him down, he loses his mind on the ground. And as long as he's standing up, then he can think. But on the ground, he gets dizzy and nauseous. And I'm like, what the heck? So that's kind of been the thing with Cody. He won the first round against Leone Barcelos, and then kind of tired out. Won the first round against Davison Figueiredo, and then tired out. And then the kind of lower level guys in the UFC, he will knock out pretty easily. I think that's Cody Garbrandt right now. So, man, the plus 124 is tempting with Cody. Long Zhao opened up at minus 162. Now he's minus 152. Give me a fun bet on Cody Garbrandt here, but I don't have like a lock here by any means.
Okay, that's interesting. From your perspective, I've got, in my humble opinion, Long Zhao potentially pulls off a submission here, second round. I think he might get it done.
The way to go, because I don't, and man, maybe he got that figured out, but I know that a couple years ago it was, which I don't. Does that, from your experience, have you heard of anything like that before, where a guy's fine standing, but as soon as it hits the mat, he gets vertigo all of a sudden, or does that seem maybe a little bit?
That can be attributed to the wars that he's been in, getting hit too much, or crystals
being too much.
Crystals being out of position in inner ears. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, so you never know. But yeah, vertigo when you get taken down, there's something going on. Maybe you take up kickboxing and boxing and go away from it. But if he's got it figured out, he's got it figured out. I wouldn't think that they would medically pass a guy that gets vertigo when he's on the ground. So anyway, all right, going on to Ferreira and Rodriguez, number 13 versus number 24 in the world. Rodriguez a little bit the favorite here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Ferreira is one of those guys who looks really good in the first round and then kind of drops off a bit of a proverbial cliff. Rodriguez not super known for his gas tank either. So if you're looking for a fight doesn't go to decision, it's probably going to be a massive number. Where are you? Yep, fight doesn't go to decision is minus 460, and I think that's pretty fair here. Rodriguez opened up at minus 215. He has steadily dropped. He's down to minus 180, minus 170 on Caesars Sportsbook. I'm going to lean with Ferreira here. I think this fight is a complete toss-up. If I was a sportsbook, I would have both guys at like minus 110. So if you're telling me I can get plus money on Bruno Ferreira, sure. I think some guy's going to get knocked out, probably in the first round and a half, and I think it could just as easily be RoboCop as it could be Ferreira. So if you're telling me I would make more money betting on Ferreira, and I think it's a 50-50 fight, give me Bruno Ferreira at plus 143.
I think that's wise. The likelihood, when you look at their KO submission, likelihood in their fights, they're looking for finishes. They're definitely looking for finishes. So fight not going the distance might be the right way to go. And you calling it a toss-up, I don't doubt you there, brother. I don't doubt you there. I will lean a little bit towards Rodriguez, just a little bit. So anyway, moving on to Dober and Johnson. Interesting matchup here again with these guys. Tons of experience, very high quality of opponents over their careers. I mean, these guys are war horses, have been through the ringer. And so this is it's a fun matchup.
It's a very fun matchup, and it's two aging veterans in a smaller weight division who have both seen better days. It's safe to say that both Dober and Johnson are on the downside of their careers, but nobody's told them, Pat, because they still fight just as crazy as they always do. What I mean, I can respect that. You sometimes see fighters like an Andre Arlovsky or something completely change their whole entire fighting style to add some years to their career.
After
Not so
numerous
much,
bouts with cancer, in Arlovsky's case.
yeah,
Amazing
yeah,
story.
yeah. No,
Amazing.
and yeah, he added, man, at least 5 or 6 years to his career that not a lot of people thought that he would do. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to lean Dober here. The line has moved in his direction a little bit from plus 105 to minus 105. But this fight's a toss up. So I think that both guys are going to come out looking to put the other guy down, and their dance partner will oblige them. I think we're looking at a possible fight of the night here. Give me so out of a 5-star system, I would say Dober might be a 2-star bet. I like Dober a decent amount here, but far from a lock.
And you think Dober gets it done on the ground, or you think they are going to stand and bang?
I would be surprised if it goes to the ground. I think that they will. Maybe a takedown to kind
Dober
of
scores a
mix
knockdown
up.
and finishes on the ground, maybe?
I think this will be rock'em sock'em robots for as long as it lasts.
All right. Well, I'm going with Dober as well. Going to be a hell of a fight either way. Be fun to watch. So everybody enjoy that one. All right, moving on to Rob Font. This fight's interesting with Raul Rosas.
Yeah, yeah, he's an interesting guy, and I've bet Rosas pretty heavily in the past, and it's worked out for me. But now I'm thinking about maybe jumping off this Rosas train because he does this every fight. He's a massive favorite, and then he barely wins. It's just every fight. He either drops the first round or he drops the last round and almost gets finished. So he seems to pull this off. We were just talking about Tercios. Loses the first round pretty badly to Ricky Tercios, then comes back and wins in the second. In his last fight, he looked very good in the first 2 rounds, and then almost got finished in the third round. I had a big bet on him. I was doing quite a bit of pacing back and forth. Rob Font's solid, man. Rob Font is a gatekeeper. Rosas Jr., as he always does, the line movement likes him. He opened at minus 190. He's up to minus 270. I'm going to say confidence level maybe 2.5 stars, but Rosas, it's not like he's coming out and just dominating in these fights. He's narrowly getting decision victories here. He's not choking everyone out. I like fight goes to decision a lot here. I think that maybe I'm jumping on that train a little bit late, but this is close to a lock for me. Minus 200 fight goes to decision. We've seen Rosas Jr. as long as he isn't fighting no offense, he struggles a little bit, and the fight almost always goes to decision. Throw in Rob Font, who is very difficult to finish. My favorite bet would be fight goes to decision at a pretty generous price of minus 200.
Interesting. Okay. Font, yeah, solid. Very solid. Raul, I've called a few of his fights, at least one that I remember. And he's tricky, though. He is a tricky guy, and he just figures out ways to walk out of there
Yes.
with his show and win money. So, boy, it's really a tough one. Wow. Yeah. Rosas barely pulls it out, gets the decision.
Mhm.
What do you think of that one, tough guy?
I like it. It goes right along with me liking fight goes to decision. So
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So mathematically speaking, I think you are correct. Baralo versus DeRitter. What are your thoughts on this one? We're getting up there, number 8 versus 9 in the world. These guys are hammers. Going to be an interesting fight. Very interesting matchup between these two.
yeah, the whole ups and downs of MMA hype trains is always interesting to me. Renier de Ritter came in with a little bit of hype, not a ton. And then,
The win over the blue chipper,
yes.
right?
And then, yeah, he is to date Bo Nichols' only loss. So the highs and lows of MMA are crazy to me. So de Ritter beats Mearshart, who everyone beats Mearshart, but that was fine for his first fight in the UFC. And then he beats Kevin Holland. And then the big one, he beats Bo Nickel. And then he's a pretty big favorite against Brendan Allen, and something went terribly wrong there. There were talks about his physical state wasn't good because he completely gassed out there, I believe, after the second round, and then didn't even come out for, I believe, the fourth or fifth rounds. DeRitter's a badass. Oh, and I completely missed in there. He beat Robert Whitaker by split decision, which is a tremendous feather in his cap. I would argue that was more impressive than the Bo Nickel win.
Sure.
We
Yeah,
just don't know
100%.
how good that Bo Nickel is. Yeah, we know how good that Robert Whitaker is. So I'm not ready to write RDR off after one bad showing. You know how I feel about bad showings. That almost means that, well, his next fight will be that much better because he wants to get that bad taste out of his mouth. He's taking this more seriously. So I don't know, man. This is another fight goes to decision that I'm liking a decent amount. Fight goes is minus 140. Kaio gets in a lot of decision fights. He's both guys above average wrestling, above average striking. I think that Kaio is maybe a little bit too big of a favorite here. Minus 240, I think it should be more of a pick 'em, in my opinion. Give me fight goes to decision, and I don't know. Who's your pick to win?
I mean, I understand your reluctance to just come right out and say it. It's not an easy one,
Hmm.
but for the money, do you go with DeRitter?
If you're giving me $100 and you say you have to bet on this fight, I'm like, easy. I'll just bet it on fight goes to decision. And then
Right.
you give me another 100 and you're like, no, you have to bet it on fight winner. Give me RDR. I think that the line has already moved a little bit. Well, the lines, it depends on which sportsbook you look like. But look at Caesars here. Kyle opens up at minus 270. He's minus 230 now. I think that kind of reflects my thinking of this fight should be closer than it is. So, yeah, gun to my head, give me RDR for the upset. And I don't think it would shock many people if RDR got the win here.
Right. And DeRitter, I think the one vulnerability he's going to run into with Cow is the standing game. I think he could get himself in trouble really easily. I mean, he's very proficient on the ground. I think there's some holes in his game standing up, so that's where he could get in trouble. If he can get this to the ground, I think he's got the capability of even pulling off the sub win here.
Yeah.
So okay, on to the main event. Remember, anybody out there listening to this, if you pick the winner of the main event, how they win and what round they win in, even goes the distance and decision. You win Cell Saviors products and Diamine clothing. So by all means, anybody in the comment section, put your pick in there, the winner, the round, how it ends, and we will be glad to send you some product and some clothing. So Max Holloway, Oliveira 2, let's hear it from you, my friend.
This fight's a little bit hard, Pat Miletich, because all these guys do is fight the best. So that's I mean you would have to go a long ways back to find either of these gentlemen fighting a guy who wasn't, I don't know, top 5 in the division. So all these guys do is fight the best. Holloway's going to be my lean here because I think he has a clear path to victory. We're talking about a guy who opened up at minus 185 on FanDuel. He's minus 215 now. He's moved 25 points in the right direction on Caesars Sportsbook. I mean, Oliveira, any concerns about him falling off? He took care of Gamrot in the first round. Gamrot's a damn near top 5 guy.
Yeah.
You're kind of willing to forgive both guys have been knocked out brutally by Topuria it seems like Topuria just knocks out everyone, so I'm willing to give them some grace for that. And this BMF title is interesting to me. I think that it's landed in the right place because you have so many good fighters at 155, and the weight divisions are a little bit weird, as you know, Pat. There is no 165. It jumps right to 170.
Right.
So this has kind of become its own division. It's kind of become this BMF division, which if it needed to happen, it was at this weight. So, yeah, and the fighters like this belt, and I think that this belt is here to stay. Give me Max Holloway defends his BMF belt. The only question is, does he get it by finish, or does the fight go all 5 rounds? Holloway goes to decision a lot. DuBronx not so much. I'm going to lean Max Holloway by decision.
Look, I can't argue with you necessarily just out of all the years of watching fights and observing. And I think Oliveira is going to pull off a submission. I really do. I think he's going to pull off a submission. I think there's just something, a gut feeling when I've been researching and digging into these two. Oliveira may just pull off a submission round 3. That's my pick. God knows I've been wrong numerous times before, but
right.
But I'm going to go with Oliveira submission in 3. And hey, we'll just talk. Remember, we got to talk about this next week, because I want you to be able to give me shit if I didn't get it right, bro.
Oh,
right?
That actually reminds me of something, a talking point that came up when we were getting ready for the show. So what are the chances you think you think Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier would be kind of one of your dream fights for this White House card?
I think it would be, hey, I'd watch it again.
I'd watch it again too. Yeah. So what if Conor gets an opponent, the opponent pulls out in, like, I don't know, June or something, then Conor goes, I've got one name on my mind. Give me the Croatian sensation, Pat Miletich at the White House. What do you do?
I say, yeah, I'll come commentate. Yeah, I'll come commentate. I'm done with all that. I'm done with all that. So, all right, you've got Holloway, I've got Oliveira. Josh, this has been a fun breakdown. I love listening to you, and I know everybody else does as well, to dig into the mind of an expert who is making his living off of analyzing these fights. So for my co-host,
what was your pick for the title fight again?
Oh, Oliveira submission round? 3.
Third
Oliveira.
Round?
What's it? Yeah. Just. And so just again, in closing, thank you to cellsaviors.org and diamine.com. And remember, pick your winner of the round and how it ends. We'll send you free stuff. Everybody out there listening, thank you for listening. And for my broadcast partner, Joshua Chauvin, the Chauvin one, make sure everybody out there, like, share these videos. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
Hey. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Giving it all. Hey. Yeah. I'm giving it all I could give. Run up and taking my pick. Then bringing it back to the crib. Hey. Yeah. You know how I go. We finding the gold, the deeper we dig. So we just keep digging till we finally get it. Like, fuck it, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yeah. I gave you my word, don't break it for knowing. You know I'ma keep what I said. Ready for war, I've been deep in the trance. Been jumping since I had them streaks in the bed. Ice in my body, I'm cold under pressure. Recovered like I had no heat in the vents. Shooting, I don't have a conscience. Too much to accomplish. You know I can't leave it to chance. Yeah. Throw it in the bag. Throw some dots, I'm Jackson Dart. I'm out of pocket playing tag. Catch me if you can. Empty out the mag. Took the lead, I run the track. And I'm never looking back. Going for the moment, always rolling with the punches. Find a way to see through the ceiling, put a covers. Smoke is in the air, keep it heavy in abundance. When the dust settles, let's see who